Imagine a world where the internet suddenly disappears. What would happen if the internet was wiped out for days, weeks, or even years? Embark on a journey with me as we explore this unthinkable scenario. Our modern society is intricately woven into the fabric of the internet. It's become such a fundamental part of our lives that it's hard to imagine a day without it. Think about it. From the moment we wake up to the time we tuck ourselves in at night, the internet is our constant companion, our silent partner in the dance of life. It's our communication lifeline, connecting us with loved ones across the globe or just across the street. But what could possibly cause such a catastrophic event? Let's delve into the concept of a supersolar storm. The supersolar storm explained. A supersolar storm, a natural phenomenon, might hold the answer to our question. So what exactly is a supersolar storm? It's a massive explosion in the sun's atmosphere, known as a solar flare, which can release as much energy as 1 billion megatons of TNT. These flares result in the emission of particles that can reach Earth and cause a variety of phenomena. The supersolar storm originates from the sun's surface, where intense magnetic fields twist and snap, creating what we call solar flares. These flares release a burst of radiation across the electromagnetic spectrum, from radio waves to X-rays and gamma rays. But it doesn't stop there. Sometimes, these solar flares are accompanied by coronal mass ejections, or CMEs. These are huge bubbles of radiation and particles from the sun, which, if directed towards Earth, can have some serious consequences. Now, how does this supersolar storm travel through space? It's all thanks to the solar wind, a stream of charged particles released from the sun's atmosphere. These particles can reach incredibly high speeds, causing a supersolar storm to hit Earth in just a matter of days. Once here, these solar particles interact with Earth's magnetic field, causing what's known as a geomagnetic storm. This is where things get problematic. Our modern world is heavily reliant on electronic systems and satellite communications, all of which are vulnerable to these storms. The most alarming effect of a supersolar storm hitting Earth is the potential for widespread internet outages. Imagine a world without internet connectivity, where global communications are disrupted, causing chaos in everything from finance to transportation. It's a scenario that's hard to imagine, but one that's entirely possible. The next supersolar storm is predicted to hit the Earth in 2024, a year sooner than previously expected. The impact on Earth. What would be the consequences of a supersolar storm hitting Earth in 2024? That's the question we're about to answer. The Earth's magnetic field acts as a shield, protecting us from the sun's most harmful emissions. However, in the face of a supersolar storm, our planetary shield might not hold up. This could lead to a cascade of events that would disrupt our daily lives in ways we can barely fathom. Imagine waking up one day to a world without internet, not just for a few minutes or hours, but for days, weeks, or even years. A world where you can't check your emails, update your social media, or even make a simple online purchase. Sounds pretty grim, doesn't it? That's just the tip of the iceberg. A supersolar storm could also wreak havoc with satellite communications. GPS systems that we rely on for navigation could go offline. Satellite TV and phone services could be disrupted. Even weather forecasting, which heavily relies on satellite data, could become unreliable. But the impact wouldn't stop at communication systems. Our power grids could also be at risk. A solar storm of this magnitude could induce currents that would overload our power lines, potentially causing widespread blackouts. Imagine hospitals without power, traffic lights going dark, refrigerators and air conditioners failing. The consequences could be far-reaching and potentially dangerous. Now let's talk about the economic impact. A prolonged internet outage could cost the global economy billions, if not trillions of dollars. Businesses would struggle to operate without online communication and transactions. The stock market could plummet, causing a financial crisis that could take years to recover from. And what about the societal impact? In a world where we're increasingly dependent on technology for education, work, and social interaction, a supersolar storm could disrupt our ways of life. Schools and universities might have to close, remote work could become impossible, and even simple tasks like booking a doctor's appointment could become a challenge. In a world heavily reliant on the internet, such an event could be devastating. But remember, this is a worst-case scenario. It's a wake-up call to prepare for the potential threats that space weather can pose. So let's take this as an opportunity to discuss how we can prepare for and potentially mitigate the impact of such a storm. Preparing for the storm. Knowing the potential threats, how can we prepare for a supersolar storm? This question is not just about survival, but also about preserving our technological lifestyle that we have become so accustomed to. The first line of defense is technology itself. Protecting our infrastructure from the effects of a supersolar storm starts with hardening the electrical grid. This involves installing devices called Faraday cages around transformers and other key components. These cages, named after the 19th century scientist Michael Faraday, act as shields against electromagnetic radiation, keeping the delicate inner workings of our infrastructure safe. In addition to hardening our electrical grid, we also need to protect our satellites. This can be accomplished by building in safe modes that allow satellites to power down and protect sensitive electronics during a storm. We can also design new satellites to be more resistant to solar radiation, and even explore the possibility of using Earth's magnetic field as a shield. On a societal level, we need to develop comprehensive emergency preparedness plans. This involves not just governments, but also businesses, communities, and individuals. Everyone needs to understand what to do in the event of a prolonged power outage or loss of internet connectivity. This might mean stocking up on non-perishable food and water, having a backup power source, and knowing how to communicate without the internet. International cooperation is also crucial. A supersolar storm is a global event, and its effects do not respect national borders. By sharing information and resources, countries can help each other mitigate the effects of the storm. This could involve joint scientific research, shared satellite data, and coordinated emergency response plans. Finally, we must remember that preparation is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process. As our understanding of supersolar storms improves, our strategies for dealing with them must also evolve. By staying vigilant and adaptable, we can ensure that we are ready for whatever the sun throws our way. Preparation is key to minimizing the impact of a supersolar storm. As we look towards the future, let's remember that the power to protect our planet and our way of life lies in our hands. The future after the storm. How would a post-storm world look like? The aftermath of a supersolar storm is a difficult scenario to imagine, but let's try to paint a picture. In the wake of the storm, our world, as we know it, would be significantly changed. Imagine a world where the internet, a service we've come to heavily rely on, is inaccessible for days, weeks, or even years. Our global connectivity would be disrupted, and many of the technological conveniences we take for granted today would be temporarily halted. It's not all doom and gloom, though. This potential crisis could also be a catalyst for change and innovation. The storm could push us to develop new technologies and methods for communication, data storage, and energy production. We might see a resurgence of older, more reliable technologies, or we might innovate entirely new ones. The societal implications would also be profound. The disruption of global connectivity could lead to a stronger emphasis on local communities and self-reliance. We might see a shift in our daily routines, our work, even our education systems. It could force us to reassess our priorities and values, and perhaps even bring us closer together as we navigate through these challenging times. In the face of such adversity, the human spirit has always shown remarkable resilience. We've weathered storms before, literal and figurative, and each time we've emerged stronger, wiser, and more prepared for what lies ahead. A supersolar storm would be no different. Despite the potential challenges, the human spirit of resilience and innovation would help us adapt and thrive in a post-storm world.